Okay, we're live. Going to try something new this morning. I want to shoot a little video that I'm going to turn into an article on a topic that is hiring a chief marketing officer for your law firm. So, broad topic, I want to touch on several things. One, when should law firm hire a chief marketing officer? Should you hire a fractional CMO versus a full-time CMO versus scenario where maybe you don't even need a CMO at all? So to open up, I wanted to share a story about Seth Price and his law firm partner. He recently shared a LinkedIn post, I'll link it, where he mentioned that when him and his partner started the firm, they decided on two roles. His partner was going to be the lawyer, the one that's going to focus on developing the best legal team possible to handle type of cases they're taking. And Seth's going to focus on building the marketing engine, building their brand positioning, building basically the case intake funnel. So the moral of the story is that just hiring a person not always will solve the problem. To hire the right person, you also need to have enough background and knowledge in the respective field to figure out if they're actually good at what they're doing. You might be the absolute best hiring manager, and as CEOs and founders, that's a huge part of our jobs. But even recruiting firms are specialized. There's specialized recruiting firms for tech, specialized recruiting firms even to hire people in Army. I was just listening to podcasts on that. So the specialization is important. So let me bring that back full circle. What does that mean in this case is, as a law firm owner or operator, you still need to identify whether you are the person who is in charge of marketing in the sense of as an owner. Do you have a partner that he or she are the ones focused on marketing, or you are? So then the next part for that particular individual who's assigned on the marketing and growth function as a partner in the firm, you need to figure out your own internal knowledge, experience, and overall gaps. This is a step before hiring a marketing manager or fractional marketing manager. I'm sure your firm has some a coach or mentor or someone you can talk to understand how well do you really understand marketing. And if you're not sure, reach out to me. We can have a quick 15-minute conversation and I'll tell you guys where you stand right now in your own internal consensus of marketing. I see firms that are just crushing it internally. Mike Agers, shout out to you. Mike's someone that's been massively obsessed with marketing from early days since he started his firm, and that has led to great success for him. But he owned that marketing function, and that has helped him throughout the years. And interestingly, he actually doesn't have a head of marketing internally. He sort of fills that function himself. So what I'm trying to say here is, to step one to identify whether you need a marketing manager or not is you need to understand your own internal skill set when it comes to marketing. How well do you understand SEO? Do you understand the fundamentals of it, how it works? Do you think your website's performing well or not? How well you understand some of the paid media fundamentals? Do you know your case acquisition costs? How well are you familiar with the CRM you're using? Do you know the best performing lead sources? Again, I'm going to use Mike as an example. He nerds out on Leadify so much that he even came to conference to learn the newest configurations and integrations, and that's the stuff he loves. And as a law firm operator, unless you're the partner that's focused on the legal side, I'm giving you the example of what you should be following. Same with Jen Gore. can't stop talking about her Domo dashboards where all the data flows in and she can know exact numbers, what side of her marketing is performing the best. Another great example of a law firm founder that is heavily involved in marketing is Amanda Demanda. She actually went to school for marketing and then applied her knowledge from school into real life once she became an attorney and developed this extremely unique brand story. So now let's go through these different stages. Do you need a CMO at all? Do you need fractional CMO? Or maybe you're strong enough to run this on your own for a while. Let's start with the one where you don't need a CMO. As why I keep talking about the founders needing to know marketing is the fact that the more marketing you know, the less money you'll need to spend on other experts, okay? Because when you hire experts, they're just filling in the knowledge gaps you have. So in this case, there's so much information out there. Also, great programs that you can be part of, Ryan McKean being one, where you can learn a lot of the fundamentals yourself. Or rather than hiring chief marketing officers or fractional CMOs, hire individual experts, but don't hire them on full-time retention basis. Like, oh, let me hire agency for a year contract before I even understand what they're going to be doing. Instead of that, hire SEO consultant that has specialized in law firms and have them build out a 6-month plan for you and do the website basic optimizations. You can do similar things with LSA ads. Find an expert that can just help you set up the ads if you don't know how to do it yourself. When it comes to pay-per-click ads, that can get a little bit more complicated, but still same approach could work, only you're going to need a lot bigger budget. And this is when we're going to come into the chief marketing officer play. As far as other channels, your community outreach. What are your activities around that? How well are you known in the community? What are the brand separating factors that position you as a unique law firm across the other firms in your city? This now is the fork in the road where we can start looking at saying, hey, is there an expert that can come in and help you figure this out? Because fractional CMO, what they will do is they'll try to pull all these pieces together and give you a plan and then work with you and other 15 law firms, maybe more, who knows, because they're fractional. So they just give you fraction of their time. They're not giving you 100% of their time. And that's the last model we're going to come back to. So this fractional consultant can help you, and they will try to do their best, but realistically, a person can work roughly 40 hours a week across 10 clients. That's 4 hours a week. So is that enough? And are they good enough to give you enough knowledge and ideas to utilize them and to turn them into real results? We'll dissect the other part of hiring vendors and selecting the vendors, because I feel like CMOs play a big factor in that. Let's come back to the branding and positioning, because I think that's a unique thing in itself, where I think if the firm can figure that out themselves, they could find an expert that helps them come up with ideas. I'm not the most creative person in the world. So to me, that type of exercise seems very helpful when an expert can come in and say, all right, we're going to do a complete, like, crazy creative session. I'm going to lock you guys up in this 2-day retreat somewhere, and we're going to come up with 85 ideas on how to position your firm. See, that's a good investment, because now you're going to come out with new ideas that you have not thought about, and it's going to contribute to your firm. And then you can turn that into a brand that you can utilize. This in itself is a crossover between branding and marketing positioning. So then you need to ask, can this fractional CMO or my CMO, can they do it? Or you need to put on your own CMO hat and say, hey, I need to go find a branding expert that can help me position my firm uniquely in my community. So rather than hiring a fractional CMO or full-time CMO, which again, we'll come back to those two in a second, you can actually go out and find some of these branding experts yourself. Just look at their past experience, talk to them, understand their process, and you'll quickly identify whether they can help you with your problem or not. And the problem you're solving is unique positioning of your brand. That's really what CMOs should be doing, positioning your brand voice, and then spreading it as much as possible, okay? But we're still at that foundational step of saying, hey, what do I need? Do I have this unique voice yet? Or I do not? Or can I figure out how to find this voice myself? Or I need to go out and hire an expert that's going to do it all for me. So let's go back to the fractional CMO stage. So let's just assume that the stage one, you rolled up your sleeves, you figured everything out yourself. And now we're going to go into this next stage, which is, I don't have yet the budget to hire a full-time CMO. We're talking about 6 digits plus, depending on their past experience. It can add up, plus bonuses, etc. So let's bring in a good fractional CMO that can work with this amazing foundation I have built. So here's what the fractional CMO is going to do. They're going to look at 3 things. They're going to say, number one, what is your CRM? Can I look at it and analyze it to see what have you been doing in the past? Okay, so decision tree here. Do you have one? Yes, no. If no, they're going to say, hey, okay, let me fix this for you. If you say yes, they're going to go in and they're going to say, okay, let's see what marketing activities you've been doing, what has been your case acquisition costs, what channels have you been exploring, and then they're going to start auditing each channel. I mean, if they're not doing this, you fired them right away. Sorry if someone got fired, but just kidding. But seriously, there's nothing else a chief marketing officer should be doing. Forget the social media, unless you have like hundreds of thousands of followers, but then they're coming in to optimize that. So, okay, we're going back to the CRM stage. They're asking you what channels you've been working on, and you tell them, okay, we're doing some SEO, some LSAs, we have some billboards. So they're going to look at the sources. They're going to say, okay, what's working and what's not working. The chances are they're going to say, okay, you got to fire these vendors. I'm going to bring in my own vendors. I've seen this happen 8 out of 10 times. Then they will want to bring in their own vendors. Hopefully they don't tell you have to rebuild your website. Be very cautious of those things, because any vendor switch or any marketing manager switch can end up being very costly for you from 2 perspectives. 1, time, 2, just sheer resources. I see this all the time. New marketing manager comes in and says, oh, we need to rebuild this website. And website ranks perfectly well, has great conversions. There's absolutely no need to rebuild the website, unless it really is some big rebrand where you're making a huge investment, you're making a complete 180-degree switch. A fractional CMO will come in, that's their big shining moment, fixing things at the beginning. So now they bring in their vendors, maybe work with the existing vendors. But really the biggest thing the fractional CMOs will do, they will focus a lot on your CRM, and they're going to focus a lot on fixing your marketing operations. From really data tracking perspectives. So then you have to figure out, okay, is my stuff in order or not? If your stuff really isn't in order fully, then sure, that's a good decision. And if they have a good track record of fixing these things, bring them on and let them, do their thing and fix your CRM. And then if you feel comfortable with the vendors they want to bring in, evaluate it, but keep them also accountable that now they need to act as chief marketing officers. Even they're fractional, they still need to own the outcomes. So if they come in and now they're giving you the person to hire, you make sure those people are performing. And really, this person, this fractional CMO needs to perform, not the vendor. Forget the vendor, honestly, because you hired this fractional person as owner of marketing function. So if your cases are not improving and they have not given you solid timeline with some projections and ideas how this plan will roll out, it's not a right fit. Okay. So let's bring this fractional CMO idea to core elements. Okay. They will audit your CRM, figure out if you have it fixed or not. If you don't, I would say then it's possibly a good idea, or you can hire just someone who focuses just on that too. Two, they will evaluate your current vendors and marketing strategies. Okay, that comes with your budgets. That's sort of is the three. And then lastly, they should give you a plan. What's going to happen? What are they going to do quarter over quarter? I would ask for a 12-month plan with quarterly objectives. And do not manage the vendors. They're going to bring in the vendors. Say, I don't care who you're bringing in. Let's align on costs. But you're the owner. You are telling me to make the switch. You're making the recommendation. It's easy to take someone's money, but they need to deliver more money in return for you. So make sure that is the case. Okay? Obviously, there's timelines and progressions, etc. But you need to see a plan, and then you can see how are you growing towards that plan. All right, awesome. So we went through 2 stages. Stage 1, owner, operator, marketer, wearing all hats, figuring stuff out, bringing in consultants to get the foundation done. Step 2, bringing in fractional CMO that can help your marketing operations get to the next level. Make sure you hit on those 4 things we talked about. And then next, you have outgrown the fractional person. You have a unique brand positioning. You're seeing solid traction already from SEO, LSA, PPC ads, maybe some other creative activities that you're doing. You're known in community. So what do you do next? You have enough budget to work with what you have, but you're feeling like the fractional person. Remember, they're splitting their time across you and 10 other law firms, maybe more, who knows. So now that their time's so spread so thin, you feel like you're not getting the maximum out of them, but your marketing needs more. And that's when you bring in a real marketing director. In my past experiences, I have hired tons of technical marketing roles from CTOs, SEO directors, in-house marketing directors, etc. So number one thing you need to ask yourself is, what is your vision? What's your 5-year plan? Kind of like the whole EOS structure. And based on that plan, assess how aggressively, where are you trying to grow? Okay, so this growth plan kind of identifies like the next level you're missing. What is the gap? Like for instance, we ended the year at 7.3 million, and now we need to get to 8.5 million. Okay, to do that, we actually did a whole internal team structure rollout. We brought in a chief operating officer that's going to take on operations and customer success. The current customer success person and client strategy director, we're giving her more time now. We're saying, hey, we've done amazing things on marketing end before. You're going to own the marketing function. Okay. So that's sort of what I'm talking about, is understand your current structure itself and say, okay, where are we trying to go next? Obviously, working even with the fractional person, you guys are already going towards that goal. But right now, you need to step it up. So you will put out a job ad, possibly work with some recruiters. Possibly you want to identify what are the channels that drive the most success for you. And why I'm saying that is because the chief marketing officers are dime a dozen, plenty. So depending on your best performing channels, you also want to find a chief marketing officer with specific specializations. Maybe they were SEO director in the past. Maybe they were paid media director in the past. Maybe they ran a whole department in an agency. Maybe they scaled another law firm. maybe they scaled another completely different type of brand and brought in this huge brand exposure for some completely non-law firm related brands. I'm actually seeing a lot more law firms starting to do that. So I would look at all those spectrums and say, what is our internal philosophy? What are the biggest drivers for new cases for us? And then based on that, say, okay, well, let's build a profile. Who is this ideal marketing director that will be an absolute superstar that once we hire them, they'll take us to this promised land, so to say. Okay, so once you build that profile, also think about some of the budgets that you're going to be working with. Because next, I want you to, when you're going into interview process, give them this as an exercise. I would do it as 3-step interview. Interview number 1, just experience, alignment, energy, that type of conversation. Just like seeing how well you vibe with a person, connection's important. Then going deep really into their experience, what have they done well, what were their biggest failures, etc. Understanding that side of things. And then second interview, you leave that interview if you liked everything, saying, hey, for next interview, I'd like to give you a little homework. And you tell them, hey, our goal is to hit this amount in revenue cases, and this is your budget, and you don't have to do any crazy, like, huge pitch, but we want to see just how you think and what would be your marketing approach to accomplish that. And let them go to work. And again, this doesn't have to be a perfect presentation, but that will be a good standing point to evaluate the right person. And third, definitely do personality index, some kind of tests. We're huge on those, and that just helps us hire the right person, especially when it comes to big hires like CMOs. Okay, so now you got the right person, you brought them in, it's a big salary, of course, and then build these quarterly projections, goals, keep them accountable to those. Now what's going to be happening is you're in this third level now. That fourth level from here is building your own law firm marketing team. And this person, I would say, should be able to do that. But maybe you outgrow them at some point and they just become owning just one function where they were a little bit better at that time. That's normal. Growing companies constantly outgrow people too, and it's okay. You don't always have to let them go. They can just be put in a different role, and they might be a lot more happier in that role than now managing 15 people. They might just want to be nerding out on scaling your SEO. Coming back to the chief marketing officer, the big difference between fractional and full-time is the time they're going to put in your brand. So now this full-time person can be obsessed 100% of time with just your brand. They can develop more ideas, more unique ideas. They can be involved more in community. Their entire sole professional purpose is to make you more money. Okay, so that's really what you're paying for. And hopefully it's also coming with the results. Just be careful with hiring someone that's worth more than what your actual marketing budget is. That proportion needs to be there. There's probably a formula on this, and I'll have to look it up, but marketing manager's salary should be maybe 10% of your marketing budget overall. Maybe 20%, but no, 10, I feel like 10 is a good number. With SEO, maybe it's a little bit different because there's a lot of technical work that's involved in it. And just a thing for you to process when you're thinking, oh, well, I'm going to bring in this superstar and they're going to take us to the happy land. But the happy land really is dependent on also your own marketing budget. So maybe you're not at that tier 3 yet, even though you want to. You want someone to be obsessed with your brand. You might be still pulled back into that fractional CMO position. And lastly, also what's important to think about is assessment of your current vendors. Because even being in that tier 1 where you don't necessarily have one person that owns your marketing internally, even if it's fractional, sometimes you will find amazing vendors. Yes, they're not full-time people that are in-house, but they will go a long ways to make sure you're happy and your marketing is dialed in. So that's something to evaluate as well. Your existing vendor staff and your intake team, you just give someone a little extra function. Say, hey, I want you to also look at our marketing kind of from these fundamental perspectives that we talked about. But nonetheless, you will have to own this no matter who you bring in. Maybe you're at this huge level that now you don't have to worry about it. That's amazing for you. But majority of firms that I'm seeing, the owners and operators, they need to have a strong sense of marketing, and only then they build on the marketing function deeper. So there you go. That's my take on chief marketing officers for law firms. When to hire them? Do you need fractional ones, or what's the best way to approach it? If you have some questions, hit me up. I love this stuff. I nerd out on it all the time. So I'll see you guys. Peace.